poison friends. I sound louder down here. Wow. That's weird.
More echo. Well, I mean, it's
more space, I guess.
And hardwood too, so it reverberates, it doesn't absorb.
Echo. Anyway, we are back with some more Johnson & Johnson mess. I think we'll do this one, and then there's I think one more we'll do on a couple of other things, because I'm trying to make my way through this book, but not be repetitive on too much stuff. We're going to talk about a different medication, which could be considered poisonous itself.
Yeah.
And they just kept and still actually keep pushing. But we're going to talk about that, and just a lot of it has to do with marketing too. So I think you'll find that interesting in a devious sort of way, seeing how malicious they were, and how they marketed this stuff. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. But just a reminder of the Patreon. You guys can find the Patreon, and we put it in our show notes too, as well as all the other social media stuff. I haven't really been doing a lot of the social media stuff, like the
Instagram,
TikTok, and Instagram. I will answer messages on Instagram. But honestly, Adam does a lot of the videos and stuff like that for all of the social media stuff. And I just haven't had the energy, the time, and all that. Maybe I'll get into a better routine, especially when school starts, and I can do something unique with those. I don't know. I'll think of something, but because I feel bad because they just kind of sit there.
Or if anybody has suggestions,
I just sit there. Yeah,
let us know.
Because I will get on there and answer messages, because I do see the messages and stuff on Instagram. Sometimes I have to go to the little requests place though. Sometimes here's some requests, and I'm did not know that was there a month ago. I am so sorry. And I've also answered. People have sent me Facebook requests too, just for my regular page, and I usually answer those. They usually find it, I think, from Adam's account or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm oh, he must. Yeah. So they usually message me on there, and I'm I can message back there. I don't do a whole lot on Facebook, but if I see it,
if it's there, if you're there, yeah.
Facebook is I don't know. I might get on there to see what's going on in the neighborhood, because that's where I find all the neighborhood crap.
I use it
school crap.
I use it just mindlessly scroll through reels sometimes.
Yeah.
When I'm tired and I just need to vegetate, I'll just
I do that on TikTok. Was it called doom scrolling?
Yep.
Most of mine's funny though.
After a long day of work though.
Maybe I'm taking that too literally. Doom scrolling.
It
feels nice.
You need to just not think for a little bit.
Sometimes it feels nice to escape, and that's just another way of doing it. And maybe you don't feel like playing the video game, you feel like you normally do book, because you're just that tired, and this is what you have the energy to do.
I could just listen. That's all I can do.
Exactly.
I can listen and kind of watch.
Right. And then an hour turns into 2. Sometimes it happens. But yeah, so you can find our Patreon and those links in our show notes. There's different levels. I'll let you look at those yourselves. We do offer bonus episodes on those levels. The $3 tiers, which they're the same thing, but there's 2 of them on there.
I'm so sorry.
Is it Gary?
No, there's a bird. I see it laying down in the...
Oh, I thought you meant in my house. Oh, he's just chilling.
Sorry, y'all.
Maybe he's hot. He's
but it's laying in the sun.
He's looking at us excuse me? Privacy? You don't look hurt. He's looking for something.
Messing almost in the...
What are you doing? So we got all kinds of wildlife just...
right outside the door here. We got a little gecko on the door that we've named Gary.
Yeah.
And now we have a little bird that was kind of nesting in the...
That's Rose.
Gary and Rose.
Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry, y'all.
We got a lot of wildlife in the backyard right now. It's probably please, it's hot, let me in. And I understand that. But yeah, so...
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, we're good. We do it a lot. But yeah, y'all can find stuff like that on there. Bonus episodes. The Discord link is in there too for paid patrons, starting at I think $1 or whatever, and other stuff for the $3 tier, like the Neuromix chats and the Poison in the News, which I am going to be doing this month. I'm running behind, and I'm oh, thank God there's one more day in July, because I hate going over and be it's supposed to be for July, but
literally got till end of today.
Yes. So, but I am, all I'm doing is editing those so I can put them up. We've already done them. It's just been a crazy week. So I have those coming. Anyway, but we also call out the names of patrons just to kind of shout you guys out. So I'm going to do that real quick and we will jump into what we have to talk about and see how much distraction we get from the wildlife. If any dolphins named Gerald show up, I'll let you know. That would be like,
That would be.
we might need to go see a doctor if that happens. Yeah. Anyway, so
next thing we know, partial aquarium pulls up in the driveway.
No, thank you. So we've got Nicole Crane, Brett Moser, Lynn Rocket, Ogre the Viking, Maggie's Yarm. It's my child. Sorry. They probably can't hear it because it doesn't. Yeah. Anyway. Maggie's Yarm, Maya Shostak, Sasha Rubel, Nicole Rivers, Liz Bianchini, Dixie Painter, James Mills, Bobby Sue, Amanda B., Mara Santiago, Grace Lehan, Genevieve, Neve Shatreets, Jay Wendt, Inken Hafner, Kiri Yorsak, Kate Lininen, Jessica Gasparini, Soy Kasumi, Thomas Huff, Glow and Go, Julia Franzoni, Lady Digitalis, Leah Marie Matson, Ebby, Supergirl Sway, Creative Otter, Dizzy Dancer, Mr. Slave, The Warped Witch, Dalek Party, Jennifer Ramirez Johnson, Desiree Davis, Melissa Emmel, Lynn Simpson, Aaron Carey, Kristen Arnold, Rynell Alara, Omadi, Bonnie, Christian Skredegard, Prim Arisen, Stuart Slattery, Minnesota SPT, Pungrand 101, Caitlin Martin, Wendy Goldstone, 2, Fidgety, Jennifer Wilson Richter, Old Man Clyde, Anna Marie, Vix, Blau Frosch, Morgan Brittingham, Christine Moljadi, Terrace Horace Hex. That I literally almost stumbled over that. Sorry, I got too excited. I got too bold. Pterosaurus Hex, Estar, Knitten Ninja, Sarah G, Jefferson Vargas, Donna Lanchinese, Lauren Smith, Banana, Serpentine Fire, Melanie the SLP, Stuart Lee, Chris Milanak, Libby, Hetty, Hantapalooza, Lisa MN aka Schmutt, Kelsey H, Paper Sky, Hannah Cook, Cabazar, Britt Clark, Paris Longer, Andrea Shameless Agitator, Ruby Salazar, Cassandra Smiles, Daniel Soar, Jasmine, Dr. Doom. Isn't that like coming out soon? Not, well, like Dr. Doom in the Avengers thing?
I think so.
Did Iron Man come back as Dr. Doom? Is that what's happening?
You watched Loki, right? A slight spoiler for anybody that's not seen the show Loki.
I don't. Was there a new season?
Multiverse.
The last I saw was it had the girl, and like, but she was like, I'm doing my own thing, bye.
But remember how like there's not the like sacred timeline anymore, so there's all the different timelines.
Yeah.
Because Iron Man died.
Well, that's gonna get confusing.
Sorry, another spoiler.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah. Hopefully you've watched it all at this point.
I didn't see that movie, but I already knew he was going to. So
Iron Man passed at the end of was it Endgame or one of the last like big adventure movies. Sacrificed himself basically to save the universe.
He's Sean Bean.
Yeah.
Got it.
But now that there's like the whole multiverse thing, is like it could be a variant of Tony Stark. That is Doctor.
Okay, if this was real life, this would tick me off so bad. I'm like the unpredictability. I'm like, wait a minute.
See, that's why they had to introduce the multiverse stuff.
Is Doctor Strange going to be there? Because doesn't he know like best case scenario universes? Like, can he explain this
a little bit? Like he can probably like look at all, but I
have questions. Someone ring up Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, there's also the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
Into the Madness in the Multiverse or something.
Yeah.
That one was good if you haven't watched that.
I think the last one I remember is when he goes to that planet and he's like, he keeps confronting this thing.
That's the original one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got like, for a while, I got kind of this fatigue from the hero movies, I think.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit.
I like the original ones, and then like all the like extras that they started to add on just kind of felt.
I liked the shows. I know sorry guys, we totally got distracted. But like I loved the WandaVision show.
That was good.
Loki was good.
The Moon Knight was good too.
What?
Moon Knight or something.
I don't know that one.
That was good. And the way it ended, I need the next season, but I haven't seen anything new about new season, so who knows?
Yeah, I didn't like the Civil War one.
I didn't mind that one as much, but
I was like, why can't they just sit down and discuss this?
Like, I haven't watched any of the Hulk one, like the new.
I don't think I saw one of them. I think I like Banner though, like in the Avengers. I like him.
Well, this one's like She-Hulk.
Oh, I haven't seen that now.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the last Thor one, but I do know
that one was good though.
The second one I liked what's that guy's name that directed it? It's got Jeff Goldblum in it too.
Oh yeah. Ragnarok.
Yeah. I love Jeff Goldblum. He's so great.
That's a good one.
Anyway, sorry guys. Sorry. We're here. Dr. Doom.
Focus.
We see you. Maureen Hart, Justin Higgins, Nigel Hawkins, Judy Lowe, Seamus Pict, Lisa D.W., Lashia Paris, Jesse Pollard, Sarah, Jahira, Everyday Delirium, April, Alicia, Mela Fantastico, Panda Cannoli, Amber Golder, Donna Foley, Teeth Weir 5, Natsumaya Terin, Tater the Gator, Hannah Rose, Sherlock and Watson, Ragdoll Cats, Nozamiko, Michelle with the 1L, Catherine Gotobed Frazier, Brittany, Lisa Fagan, Haplo84, Anna Kittalong Will, aka Dubs, Megan Geiger, Elian Golding, Lucy Galloway, Toby Marie, Shelby Knowles, Catherine Smith, Aussie Sapper92, Sarah Weeks, Lisa Johnson, Danielle Galagos, Evan McCann. We've got some new ones as well. This time around, John F. Taylor, Manal Majali. If I'm saying that wrong, do feel free to message me and correct that. And Salex. So welcome you guys. And thanks for all of you who are listening, who support us and everything else. And hey, let us know what your favorite hero movie is. I know we only talked about Marvel, but there's DC too.
Okay, Marvel versus DC. I'm a Marvel
fan. I like the DC villains.
Yeah, I can see that.
Something about Batman ticks me off. It's funny because I love bats. But he just has this ego that I just, and I get it. He's all broody,
Darkness.
I liked I did like Lego Batman, and I liked the animated series back in the day. I liked those a lot. But I don't know. I don't like his character bothers me. And he's all rich and everything, and it's great, whatever. And I get his parents died. And I feel like Lego Batman in the Lego movie kind of, when he makes that song, he's like, he's like, no, parents, filthy rich, kind of makes it better. He's broody, but he's also super wealthy, and he's always showing off and all this stuff. And then he's broody again. And I'm like, I just can't, pick a mood.
Yeah.
I know there's deeper things to it, but yeah, I'm probably more of a Marvel fan myself.
Same. Let us know in the comments which one you are.
I grew up watching X-Men, the animated series back in 90s.
That was a good one.
The 90s. Oh, so much. And the comics. I used to love the comics.
X-Men were my jam.
I think, and I think in the X-Men comics, there was in some universe with them where Iron Man died, but it was against a different foe.
Okay.
There's a bunch of people who died, but he started the whole sacrifice thing. Anyway, on to J&J, who are not superheroes, mind you.
Maybe that's an episode we do one day. Superheroes and poison. I don't know.
There's
hey, Superman and Kryptonite.
Poison Ivy?
Yeah. See? Okay. I did. Yeah. We got some ideas going.
We should do we'll do whole every now and then do some fictional poisons and stuff.
We should. Yeah. I would enjoy that.
Or even have clips because remember the old really dumb Batman movie?
I never watched Batman growing up.
There's a movie, and it's most people see it's the worst Batman movie. It's really stupid, but it's so stupid that it's kind of funny. It's Batman and Robin. Yeah. Chris O'Donnell, I think, plays Robin. I cannot think of the guy's name who plays Batman, but he's super famous.
Adam West or something. Is that the guy's name?
No, you're thinking of the show back in the day. I know you're talking about Adam West. That's the old show.
I'm trying to think who else has played.
George Clooney, I think, played the Batman.
Is there Ben Affleck too?
Yeah,
at one point.
I know you're talking about them. Anyway, we will though. We'll do that. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
I'll find clips and we'll talk about it and be like, what do you guys think about that? Okay, so we've mentioned Johnson & Johnson a lot. There are many skeletons that they have in their closet. I do want to talk about, as I mentioned, another drug of theirs that's had some shady dealings around it. Just how Johnson & Johnson, I might call them J&J for short. I'm sure y'all understand how they've treated mental health or mistreated the mental health care system, really. Also, you may hear me say Janssen. J&J owns Janssen or whatever. If you go back to the first in this little series, they they own that particular entity. But first, let's discuss a little bit about schizophrenia, because the drug that we're going to be focusing on is an antipsychotic that had its first and main use around that particular diagnosis. And all antipsychotics have a good bit of side effects, unfortunately. They do the job of helping what they need to help, but there can be some serious side effects that are really disabling too. So schizophrenia, it's a mental health disorder characterized by hallucinations, delusions, and disorganized thinking. It affects how people think, feel, and behave. Hallucinations can be visual, they can be auditory, or both. Like visual, I feel like people are like, oh yeah, he's seeing things. But there are like people who do just hear.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's constant. And like doesn't even make sense. And sometimes it's actual voices. Sometimes it's, so one or the other. Sometimes it sounds like a radio is on in your head, which has to be, I'm sure, very disrupting. Not the kind where it's like, I've always got a song playing in the back of my head. Like, I get that. But it's literally like you're literally hearing it.
You can't hear your own thoughts over.
Yeah, it's almost like you're literally hearing it. Remember when you were a kid, when you were a kid, did you ever hear like something that wasn't there? Like, I heard my mom calling my name one time and I answered and I was like, I'm the only one in the house. But I know I heard her call me, but I think it's because I was used to hearing it.
Yeah.
Like, so it was like my brain just sort of played that trick on me. I don't know.
I've had moments like that, but it was like, all right, so like a little story. I was deer hunting with my dad, and deer hunting, you got to stay really quiet. You can't move a lot, like, because you don't want to scare the deer. And we were just sitting there, and I was just like looking at one side, from the stand that we were in, and I heard like I thought it was my dad that said like, look over this way, and as I did, like I saw a deer, but it wasn't my dad that said anything. So it was just like one of those like, but it sounded like him. So I was just like,
are you guys in the Appalachia?
No, we're in South Carolina.
I mean, it's close enough. I'd be like, okay, you know what? Nope, I'm getting out of here.
But like, I mean, like it sounded like a wisp, like a look over there.
A wisp.
So like that's why I looked at him. I was like, huh? And he goes, he shook his head like he didn't say anything, and then then I saw the deer and I was like, oh,
yeah.
So
yeah, I still remember hearing my mom call me that time. She was at work. There was nobody else in the house. I literally like heard it so well that I was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like,
wait a minute.
And then I felt kind of embarrassed. I was like, who am I talking to? Anyway, creepy. But I feel like maybe, I don't know. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Maybe it was an angel. Maybe it was God. You there?
Friend of Gerald.
Maybe.
So.
At least that's what I'm telling myself. So I can sleep at night.
Right. Wouldn't go back in those woods, but hey. Could have said something worse. I mean, delusions, of course, are these firm beliefs that are not true. I went down kind of a spiral in my head when I was thinking about delusions one time, because I was like, what if, like, where's the line between delusion and belief that's just, this is what I believe and this is where my values come from, right? Because like there are people who believe in some interesting things, but you wouldn't call them delusions, right? So I was like, if that's the case, what if this whole thing is one big delusion? I was like, okay, I got to stop that. Stop it.
You're spiraling, going down that rabbit hole.
Be careful when you think about delusions. But like in this case, we're thinking about delusions typically like someone's out to get me, or this is what somebody's thinking about me right now, more threatening, that kind of thing. Or it could be even super big into conspiracy type stuff to the point of it really taking over your life. Also disorganized thinking. Sometimes you may see like word salad, just not being able to function really. Those with schizophrenia often lose touch with reality, which makes sense if you're dealing with all of this. And the effect on daily life can be severe, like those with the disorder can actually have trouble bathing, eating, taking medicine, etc. So just activities of daily living are next to impossible. Diagnosis of schizophrenia normally occurs between the late teens to early 30s, and it's often genetic. While rare, some can be diagnosed later in life. It's usually women who get diagnosed later in life, of course. But I'm not sure if that's because it just goes unseen or if it's, it starts, the symptoms start. Because I feel like schizophrenia is a pretty, like the symptoms that go along with it are pretty noticeable. Now, it's a lifelong condition. It requires lifelong treatment of various kinds depending on the severity. Interestingly, autism used to be linked with schizophrenia and schizoid personality disorder because like early researchers viewed social withdrawal as a psychotic issue. Probably a bunch of extroverts thinking that, you know. But anyway, schizophrenia does involve social withdrawal and isolation, but you also have, you know, the hallucinations, the delusions, the psychosis. Schizoid personality disorder, it's a little bit different. It's characterized by a lifelong pattern of wanting no social ties at all, preferring to be alone. Like you don't want any of that. And it may feel like, well, I mean, I don't want to be around people, but it's not so much I don't want to be around people. It's that I'm exhausted because I was around people, not because I don't want friends or connections, right. That kind of thing. With schizoid personality disorder, you have no interest in connection or any of that. Okay. So, and it's, like I said, this sounds like autism to some of us that are introverted because we're tired of people sometimes. We prefer to be alone. But autism involves social withdrawal for different reasons. Those with autism typically do want social ties like friends to some degree. We're just not good at the whole various forms of communication and, you know, expressing emotions, understanding tone, body language, sometimes, you know, and obviously there's a spectrum. So there's varying difficulties with all those things. Autism also involves other aspects too, like sensory processing issues, repetitive behaviors, stimming, meltdowns, you know, other things. So, you know, there are differences there. In case someone wonders why they may see the word schizoid profile on their evaluation for autism, because they still use like this whole profile thing. Mine actually says it because I apparently fit the socially withdrawn profile as someone with autism. Mm-hmm. So if you see schizoid, it doesn't mean you have schizophrenia. Yeah. Just put that out there. So now on to J&J's venture into mental health, or misventure. Antipsychotics were introduced. Yeah, this is a journey. Antipsychotics were introduced in the 1950s. And the first thing I thought of was women in the 1950s, the housewives. Like, we'll have to talk about that one day too, where they were basically dosed on uppers and downers to do all the housework and go to sleep at night and, you know, just being the good wife because you couldn't get divorced. You couldn't have your own bank account even. So in most places around here, at least. So yeah, so we'll have to talk about that later. But the antipsychotics were introduced around that time. Now, first, there was chlorpromazine or thorazine is what it's best known as. Then haloperidol or Haldol. These are first generation antipsychotics by the 1970s and 1980s. Newer antipsychotics, the second generation or the atypical antipsychotics like clozapine, risperidone, and olanzapine were made. A lot of big words. I know. And there are like, of course, another word for each of them for the other, you know. Yeah. Some more than one, depending on the brand and all that. It gets really annoying. Yeah. Now, the first generation antipsychotics block dopamine receptors, and the atypical antipsychotics block both dopamine and serotonin receptors. So it's long been known that schizophrenia patients have an imbalance of dopamine within the brain, usually like too much in one area, too little in another. Dopamine is a really important, you know, neurotransmitter. They're all really important, but like with Parkinson's, you typically have too little dopamine. Mm-hmm. So it can really mess you up either way. You know, there's an imbalance. Now, we're specifically talking about risperidone or Risperdal today, which was developed by Johnson & Johnson in the 1980s, basically to replace older Haldol, whose patent was expiring. So they owned Haldol already. When a drug company's patent expires, generics of that medication can be made. So like as soon as it expires, it's legal to make generics for it, right? Mm-hmm. And those generics can be sold for less. So, you know, people will usually go with the generic because it costs less money, meaning J&J would likely begin to lose money this way because they're no longer buying their more expensive one, right? Yeah. So now they're like, well, we need to come up with a brand new drug to patent so that we can price the drug and sell it exclusively to make all the monies. And we're going to make basically the same drug, but we're going to say it's better. Okay. And safer. Mm-hmm. So that people want to use it instead. Gotcha. Right. That was the plan.
See that marketing coming into play here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it gets bad too. So, you know, they're like, well, we're going to research this new antipsychotic that's that does what the old antipsychotic does, but it's not going to have all the unwanted side effects that just seem to follow the traditional ones.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, antipsychotics can have a lot of side effects, and a lot of them, the typical ones are weight gain, like significant weight gain, actually, fatigue, drowsiness, insomnia, dry mouth, constipation, restlessness, high blood sugar levels, elevated prolactin levels leading to gynecomastia, which we're going to discuss later. Don't worry, that's a weird word for a lot of people, but yeah, other serious side effects could be tardive dyskinesia, which is like the unwanted movements, these tics that can become permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when you come off of it, you still have the tic. Like it can be a permanent thing, which sucks. It's usually like it could even be like a facial tic, like even sticking your tongue out is involuntary thing that people can find very disabling or just emotionally difficult to deal with. And there's also tardive dystonia, which is involuntary muscle contractions. These causes repetitive twisting movements or abnormally fixed positions. And a lot of these sound similar. So you have dyskinesia, dystonia. They're all motor or movement disorders. So there's tardive akathisia, which is a movement disorder involving inner restlessness, agitation, fidgeting. Can look like you're having tics, but it's coming kind of from this like a restless sort of situation that you feel from the inside out even. It's kind of hard to explain if you haven't dealt with it. But yeah, there's also neuroleptic malignant syndrome, brain tissue volume reduction, increased risk for suicide. So there's all these like pretty serious side effects that can go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And J&J had this idea to make one without all these worst side effects. And that sounds great, right? But, they basically just intended to market the drug they made as having less or no side effects, whether it did or not. Like they were going to go along with this, whether it did or not.
This is safe.
Yeah. We don't actually know if it is, but we're calling it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, were they trying to manifest this little, like, say, you're safe, okay? Safe. No, doesn't work that way. Okay, so even more ambitious, they sought to use this same drug as a treatment for dementia in elderly patients. So it's like, not only are we going to do this, we're going to actually try to market it for things that it's not approved for.
Mm-hmm.
So, because if we can get it approved and market it out and sell it to people with other illnesses, other markets, then we're going to get more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
dollar bills,
bigger patient base, right? Because that's what they care about. Now, before I get carried away on everything they wanted to use this for, because we're going to get back to that, let's talk about its beginnings a little bit, and of course the marketing. Now, if anyone is good at marketing, it's Johnson & Johnson, as we talked about. They're the baby company. You have babies.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the cancer powder company. Yeah. So atypical antipsychotics, in general, were marketed as safer than the first generation antipsychotics, as they were supposed to cause fewer tics, tremors, all those involuntary and sometimes permanent movement motor disorders, as well as some other. They tried to say that it didn't carry as many side effects other than that too, but it did. But they were supposed to be safer, so that's what they were marketed as. Now, as they were described and sold as safer, they ended up being much more profitable. You're going to choose the one that won't give you those side effects.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes sense. Many individuals take antipsychotics for schizophrenia. As I mentioned, those diagnosed with bipolar disorder may also take them if psychosis is involved. Sometimes it is. Schizophrenia patients often suffer from severe loss of daily functions, like I mentioned. Many of them are homeless or unable to work, regular jobs, if any sort of job. A lot of them rely on state Medicaid programs for healthcare. As such, Medicaid programs were the largest purchases of these atypical antipsychotics. So put another way, atypical antipsychotics were Medicaid's single largest expense for a good 15 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, these drugs were so expensive because of how they were priced that these programs could not afford them. Like Medicaid could not afford
mm-hmm.
to buy these medications with the tax dollar money, to help give to those who needed them, for this sort of social programs, and it's made to do that, but mm-hmm. they didn't have the money to do it because the drug companies priced it up so high. Let's see.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Now, this led to thousands of poor people kicked off of Medicaid. So you have a cycle here. Those with schizophrenia need antipsychotics to function at their best, their most basic levels.
Yeah.
But they can't pay for them because they can't work normal jobs. They don't have the capacity, the ability to work and make money, and many are homeless. And the only program that could help them pay for these meds can't even afford them.
Yeah.
And then most get kicked off of this insurance. And so it's like they can't get the meds. Their symptoms are going to continue to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be even less functional.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't help anything.
It's just an uphill battle.
Yeah. Then there's this plot twist. They actually aren't safer at all. Numerous studies have shown that they do not have less side effects than the first generation drugs. And this includes one published back in 2005 known as the Clinical Antipsychotic Trials of Intervention Effectiveness. It's fun to say. Involving 1,493 people. I'm like, why couldn't you just make it 1,500? Well, you couldn't just make 1,500.
Anyway. There was probably 7 people that signed up and then just were like, nope, I'm out.
Get in here! We need you. Now this dealt with like multiple different kinds of antipsychotics. It's just test the efficacy of them and safety of them together. Participants randomly received one of 5 drugs and were followed for over 18 months. 3/4 of those given Risperdal stopped taking the medication or switched to a different one because it was either ineffective or the side effects were just too severe. So this drug that they're saying is safer, doesn't have all these side effects, they're literally like, I can't stay on this drug because there's too many side effects and I can't deal with it. So that's not a good sign. Now, others taking first generation antipsychotics in this trial seem to tolerate their medications a bit longer. So the cheaper drug with the expired patents, was actually more effective and had less side effects. It's like, this is the opposite of what they said they were going to make. Now, even worse, it was found that the tics, the tremors, the involuntary movement side effects occurred just as often in those taking Risperdal as with the other medications. So it wasn't safer at all. That included the first generation ones. So this safer drug was just not safer or more effective at all. They were just calling it that to make more sales. Now, in some independent studies done among teenagers and elderly patients, the same conclusion was found. They even found that for teenagers and elderly patients, especially, and there's a reason why we're talking about these two populations that we'll talk about in a minute, because they did try to sell it to these populations, even those for especially teenagers and elderly patients, others as well, but especially in those cases, the use of Risperdal and similar medications and anyone not confirmed to be schizophrenic is too toxic for anything other than very brief treatments. So using it longer period of time, you're going to see these side effects, and it's going to be a lot more disruptive in their lives, and some of it would be permanent. And it can actually cause some major issues physically that we're going to talk about too in just a second. So both generations of antipsychotic medications cause side effects, including these involuntary motor tics and tremors. Another worrying side effect of atypical or second generation meds is the weight gain. The effect seems to be more pronounced in the atypical antipsychotics like Risperdal. And some studies have found that teens can gain about 4 pounds. I saw somewhere it was like 4 to 6 pounds a month while on Risperdal, which is very concerning. Those on the medication for more than a few months often become severely obese, leading to worsening psychological and emotional symptoms as well. And, things that come with obesity, high blood pressure, high blood glucose levels, things like that. Now, even the FDA put their foot down for once on the matter in 1993. And again, like the FDA, it really depends on who's running things government-wise, on who's running the FDA. You can have some really bad people, now some great people. We've had both. But in 1993, the FDA's director of neuropharmacologic drug products, Dr. Paul Lieber, wrote to his boss. He said, the division has refused to accede to Janssen's, J&J, demands because it believes that the side-by-side presentation of data obtained on Risperdal and haloperidol assigned subjects invites a comparison that leads to the conclusion that Risperdal has been shown to be superior to haloperidol when in fact it is not. So they know, like the FDA knew, like it's not though, right? So J&J continuously tried to use data involving unfair comparisons, and they even falsified data entirely as a means to support their claim that Risperdal was safer and more effective. Like they even included like they found ways to make the numbers look better, and they would put them in these charts, but then they wouldn't show people charts before they published them. They were like, looks good enough to us. And like they wouldn't get approved necessarily. They would just like, okay, we'll include a chart. We'll put our numbers in it. So yeah, it was bad. They refused to conduct these fair head-to-head studies comparing Risperdal and Haldol, even when it was requested by the FDA. Like they would be like, okay, if you want us to agree with you on this, you've got to actually do fair studies, ones that put them side by side in the same trial and see how that goes. They refused to do that for reasons. Because they knew it wasn't going to do well. The drug was approved by the FDA in 1993, but the company was not allowed to compare the drug to Haldol by saying it was any safer or better. So like that was they wanted to market it as safer than Haldol so they would, get more money. People would use it more, but they were not allowed to do that. I mean, yeah, they find their way around it. So this marketing scheme was apparently not going so well anymore. And J&J went back to the drawing board to find another way to make that money off this drug. Schizophrenia affects less than 1% of the U.S. adult population. So only selling to this group was not profitable enough for them. And as I mentioned earlier, this group couldn't even afford the medications to take them. I mean, even Medicaid was like, sorry, can't do that. What they needed then was a way to sell to other populations. A 1994 sales draft plan from J&J actually states, aggressive expansion of Risperdal use in other indications is therefore a necessity. So like they were planning like, we got to find more ways to make money, right? Like they have all these internal like documents talking about how they need to find ways to make better money off of this and how are we going to do this and how are we going to do that. I mean, it's incriminating, honestly. Yeah. And they did use it for certain court cases. So legally speaking, you have to have FDA approval to directly market a drug for anything other than what it has already been approved for, right? So like if a drug is approved for use in schizophrenia, you can't just make ads saying it's also for autism because it wasn't approved for that. Right. They do sometimes have like experimental type drugs or whatever that they can offer, but they have to tell you like it hasn't been approved for this. But we've seen maybe some promise in it if you want to try. Like they have to tell you that. Yeah. But yeah, they can't sit there and be like, this definitely works. Right. And I use this example because antipsychotics have actually been used to sedate autistic children in the past to calm them down. And we'll talk a little bit more of that in just a second because they're basically like a tranquilizer effect on a lot of people. And so like if someone's having meltdowns or is really agitated and you notice, I can just give this to calm them down. Okay, but you're not treating the patient. You're just making them more manageable.
You're treating a symptom.
Yeah, like you're just trying to make them easier to deal with. Yeah. You're sedating them. So it's like chemical restraint. Yeah. So, without this extra approval, they would have to get creative or sneaky to get doctors to prescribe it for other conditions. So what they ended up doing at this point was working around the language used in relation to what the drug was approved for. And what they do is quite illegal, and we'll get to that. But Risperdal was approved to treat schizophrenia. Schizophrenics suffer from a lot of different psychiatric symptoms. So they decided to adjust this a bit to then say, Risperdal could treat all of these different psychiatric symptoms. Okay. This is basically a sell to the symptoms strategy. Every pharmaceutical company has used it as well in some way. J&J is not the only ones. But as prosecutors summarized during a later secret grand jury trial, J&J had a method for sales. Basically, a rep would sell to the symptoms such as anxiety, hostility, impulsiveness, agitation, any of those. And these reps would show the doctor like a sales aid, which listed all these symptoms. And if he said that he had patients with those symptoms, like he has got some, I've got some patients with anxiety. Yeah. Then the reps would tell that doctor that Risperdal was effective in treating those symptoms. But if you have anxiety, you don't need to take Risperdal. And if you do, you'll have these side effects. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you'll be asleep a lot. So yeah, I guess you won't have the anxiety, but there are anti-anxiety and anti-depression medications that can help with anxiety. One company executive, Janet Vergas, testified that the company could promote Risperdal for treatment of any symptom in the PANS scale. The PANS scale stands for Positive and Negative Syndrome Scale and includes anxiety, guilty feelings, depression, emotional withdrawal, tension, poor attention, pain, weakness, shortness of breath, poor impulse control, excitement, grandiosity, suspiciousness, hostility, lack of spontaneity, and more. So, like, according to them, we should all be on Risperdal, right? Like, yeah. There were so many symptoms on this list that sales aids lists were actually made for various patient groups. Like they had lists for pediatric doctors to look at, geriatric doctors to look at. There was just so many different ones they could use.
Yeah.
And this is illegal. This is illegal. If you did this with other drugs, it would be a free for all. If you were like, hey, if, we sell like antibiotics for bacterial infections. Sometimes when you have a bacterial infection, you have a headache. So you should also take antibiotics every time you have a headache.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay. That's not how that works. And also don't overtake antibiotics. Don't do that. They're good if you have a bacterial infection, but don't do that. Yeah. This system was not just being used, like I said, at J&J either. Other companies like Eli Lilly, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Bristol Myers Squibb, which is just a fun thing to say. They did it as well. Another strategy that was used was they would buy their way in, and they did this a lot in the past as well anyway. But this is also illegal. Okay. You remember the whole Medicaid fiasco cycle of kicking people off that insurance because the service couldn't afford the medication?
Yeah.
Well, Johnson & Johnson needed Medicaid to keep using taxpayer dollars on Risperdal. So to convince them to stick with their drug, even though it was much more expensive than Haldol, like they couldn't go back to Haldol if they made this agreement, which would leave people out of having medications that were cheaper. They put state Medicaid directors on their payroll. Illegal. In Texas, for instance, they created the Texas Medication Algorithm Project, also known as TMAP, which was supposed to aid doctors by instructing them on the best ways to treat schizophrenia. So like what they did, they were like, we're going to create this program. It's going to sound great. It's going to sound like we're giving more support to those with schizophrenia by telling doctors, hey, here's a great way to do this. But they're also already doctors. Like they've studied this. Okay. Yeah. So it's basically them controlling the doctors while looking like they're trying to help. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because now it's going to be, you need to use what we say you should use. Now, the lead author of this algorithm, Dr. Stephen Sean, was also the director of the Texas Mental Health Department. Over time, an update was made in which J&J plus some other drug companies wrote or influenced the recommendations. So they kind of rewrote things according to how they wanted it. So they would say things like only Risperdal and other expensive atypical antipsychotics needed to be put on that list. So they got rid of the cheaper ones altogether. If doctors wanted to use the older and cheaper medications that were just as safe and effective, they had to justify their choice in writing, which most physicians just either don't have the time for, they don't remember to do. They have a lot of patients to consider at one time too, that kind of thing. And also, if you've ever tried to call like an insurance company just to talk to somebody, oh my God. Writing them, they probably won't even write you back. It's a lot. They don't care. They don't want to deal with you. They just don't.
They want your money.
They do. Yeah. They don't help you with anything. They're just less apt to do it, and these drug companies know that. No, that's not going to happen. And they basically make it harder for doctors to prescribe the cheaper drugs that also work. Now, they went even further by warning doctors and clinics that if they ignored these recommendations, basically saying you can only offer this drug, they could lose state funding. Right?
Yeah.
So now they're threatening people. J&J also lobbied the Texas legislature to pass a law mandating that doctors in Texas follow the TMAP guidance, basically making the use of older, less expensive drugs kind of illegal. Like if you try to use other drugs, then you're going against our system, and there's a law saying that you can't do that. And so, and they're trying to make it look like, see, we're trying to support mental health. And it's like, no, you're controlling what the doctors can and can't prescribe because your drug, this more expensive drug, is the only one they're allowed to do to prescribe. Okay. Now this model, it's very manipulative. It's very villainy. Yeah. Right? It's very DC villain. Right? Although I feel like DC villains have more morals than this. Maybe.
Do they?
At least like the Joker will tell you, like, I'm just here to have fun.
That's fair.
You know? Some people just want to watch the world burn.
That quote from some.
It's Batman. Alfred said it, I think.
That's why I was like, this might sound so familiar.
Yeah. Now, let's see. This model actually spread to other states as well, pretty quietly, kind of under the radar, where, you know, you've got politicians, directors of Medicaid, all these things getting paid to implement this system where doctors can only prescribe this drug so that the drug companies get more money. Right? They're not, you know, telling anybody about it or not putting it that way, but that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So, and at the head of it for Texas was this Dr. Stephen Shawn, who was the medical director of Texas Mental Health. There are like internal memos referencing all of this as well. So it's not like they can deny it. But the New York Times actually wrote a story about this whole situation in February 2004. And Dr. Stephen Shawn, who I just mentioned, the lead author of the TMAP's recommendations as well as that medical director, he sent a letter to the New York Times after it broke and insisted that he had never taken money from drug makers.
Okay.
This was a bold-faced lie. Right? Lie. He told the same lie under oath as well. And then he was made to eat those words later because during a cross-examination, during a court case in Texas where the state was suing the company for illegal marketing efforts, he was made to walk back all of these lies as evidence was just literally out in front of him. Like they had ledgers, they had written evidence, they had paperwork. And they were like, oh, is that so? What about this? And then he literally had to be like, oh yeah, guess that's what really happened.
Time to backtrack.
Yeah. So he had to do all of that there. They had ledgers showing that he had accepted money illegally from J&J. He was then asked what he did with all of this money, and he admitted to depositing it into his personal account. This is a felony offense. Okay. And he was actually getting kind of scammed because like he had received $25,000 from J&J. Others involved in this TMAP scheme were given upwards of like over $300,000.
Scammer got scammed.
Yeah. Like, well, here you go.
Oh, yeah.
So in the end, like 16 states, as well as the District of Columbia, ended up going with that TMAP model at that time, which is just crooked as I'll get out. But so J&J also partnered with a group called National Alliance on Mental Illness. This is America's largest advocacy group for parents of children who've had episodes of psychosis. And it's a very sensitive sort of topic for these parents because like it may be kids who have issues with conduct, or maybe, you know, it's because of their mental disorder, they're acting out and all these things. And the parents are like, I want to help my kid. I don't know what to do. So this is an advocacy group that's supposed to be helpful to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, J&J gave them large sums of money as well to push that TMAP situation and Risperdal. And they led from the advocacy side of things for them as well. So, for instance, in 2002, Kentucky's Medicaid program was financially in ruin. I mean, they were $230 million in debt. Oof. A lot of debt. And they were considering taking Risperdal and other newer antipsychotics off the list of meds that they would cover in exchange for the older, cheaper ones, which we know, again, are safe and effective. This would have lost J&J billions of dollars. So they got their little partner, the advocacy group, NAMI, to bus protesters to a hearing at the state's capital, basically telling these protesters, they're just trying to take away this medication so you can't have it. That's what they're telling them, right?
Yikes.
And so like they are being told one thing that isn't necessarily the truth either. Okay. So they basically bussed these protesters to a hearing at the state's capital. They placed huge ads in newspapers against this proposal, and they sent angry fax messages to state officials. And all of this was paid for by drug companies wanting to save their big money meds. If I get a fax message as like an official, I'm just like, okay. I don't really care if you hate me, but okay. Oh my God, you hate me? I didn't know this was part of the job. Oh God. Anyway. So, yeah, all of it was paid for by those drug companies. Now, Kentucky did end up keeping Risperdal on the list, but it did have to cut costs elsewhere. Now, this resulted in cuts in nursing home care and support to the elderly.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, J&J. NAMI, this partner, also hosted parties for state legislators and had top members contribute to political campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
They essentially helped drug companies get laws passed in 28 states that specifically exempted mental health drugs from cost controls so that they could price them how they wanted to.
Yeah.
Also, any donations that J&J gave to this group could be written off on taxes. If you want to hear something more depressing, an article published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2017 featured a study that concluded out of 104 health advocacy organizations examined, at least 83% received financial support from drug, device, and biotechnologies companies.
Mm.
They're supposed to be advocacy groups.
Yeah.
And at least 39% have a current or former industry executive on the governing board. And why?
Yes.
So let's talk about some pretty awful effects caused by Risperdal use, especially in teens and elderly patients where they try to sort of sell this drug off to them off-label. Okay.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier one side effect included elevated levels of prolactin, leading to gynecomastia. Basically, Risperdal affects the endocrine system, hormone regulation and release, hypothyroidism right here. But anyway, yeah. So the endocrine system, hormone regulation and release. So children already have pretty sensitive endocrine systems, as you know, with the changes that occur as they grow. You know, you got puberty happening and everything else as well. Prolactin is the hormone that's involved in the production of milk during pregnancy, you know, breast tissue growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's also vital concerning immunity. Now, what this means for Risperdal users is a higher level of this hormone leading to breast development, including in boys. Okay. J&J tried to dispute this by stating that gynecomastia was a rare occurrence, like one patient in every 1,000, which at the same time is like, that's not that rare. Like, I've heard of much rarer occurrences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what they don't seem to understand is how their push of this medicine makes that occurrence less and less rare, right? So if more and more people are taking it, more and more people are going to have this situation.
Yeah.
But also, like, they weren't even telling the whole truth, because in a 2000 study by them on the matter, it was found halfway through that 319 Risperdal patients, this is halfway through the study, out of those 319, 11 had gynecomastia, making it at a rate of 3.4%.
Mm-hmm.
This is 30 times more than the company or labels warned about already, just halfway through.
Yeah.
By the end of the study, permanent breast development jumped up to 25 out of the 319 patients. That's 8.3%. They did not need to continue the study, but they did anyway, and some patients did drop out. But the rate of gynecomastia among those remaining got up to 13%. So it just kept rising.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the study showed that about 1 boy in 10 had this permanently disfiguring side effect. Mm-hmm. And the only way to get rid of gynecomastia at this point is mastectomy. Like, you can't, it's breast tissue. So just working out, it's not going to get rid of that. Like, a guy can work out if he's got gynecomastia. That's a different kind of tissue, right? Risperdal actually raises prolactin levels more than any other antipsychotic out there. Despite these numbers, there is significant evidence, including internal J&J documents showing they refrained from sharing this information and actually fabricated the data published. Like, they doctored the numbers a good bit. Mm-hmm. Gynecomastia can be permanently disfiguring. It's only corrected, like I said, via double mastectomy. You can't just lose that tissue by losing weight, but this also does cause severe weight gain and can lead to higher blood sugar and diabetes as well, this medication. Some children have actually died as a result of the medication, usually to the weight gain, leading to high blood pressure, heart conditions, things like that. Mm-hmm. Now, J&J also wanted to market Risperdal for dementia and elderly patients, and this could make them so much money because that's a big group. So they started conducting trials for its use in dementia patients, but it wasn't going very well. Mm-hmm. Pretty much a lot of their studies did not go very well. Yeah.
So it seems like.
But a lot of times they'll do studies, and since that costs money, they'll just make up the answer they want, even if it doesn't go well. Because it's like, well, we paid the money to do this, and we don't want to, like, lose our money.
Okay.
Like, what do you know what the point of study is? Anyway, yeah. So one study failed to show any benefit at all of using Risperdal for dementia. Didn't do anything, but it did raise blood pressure. Also, patients given Risperdal in this study died in greater numbers than those given a placebo. J&J ignored this. The FDA did notice, and they rejected the application for its use among dementia patients. The FDA wrote in 1999 that the company had failed to fully explore and explain what appeared to be an excess number of deaths. Like, that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Now, further studies also resulted in the same results. Like, they just kept doing it. Those given Risperdal died in greater numbers than those not given Risperdal. So J&J still just aggressively marketed the drug to physicians using their sales reps, even though they were not given the go-ahead to do that. Like, they would not give them approval, but they're like, we'll just do it anyway.
Yeah.
So the company basically had specialized sales forces for elder care. Like, they were so confident that they could get away with this. They were like, we're going to have our own elder care sales team. We're going to call it elder care. Okay. Illegal. Now, whether or not they thought they could get approval later, they marketed and sold the drug for a diagnosis that it had not been approved for, telling everyone that it was safe and effective for that diagnosis when it was not.
Yeah.
It was formally rejected anyway. Even so, the company still increased their sales for Risperdal to sell for dementia as a dementia drug. And this is illegal, as I mentioned, big no-no. Later studies would reveal that Risperdal was not only not effective in treating dementia, but it drastically increased the risk of heart attack and stroke in elderly patients. Remember, a lot of them were dying.
Yeah.
They already have enough risk of this already, but this increased it further. Researchers at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center found that between the year 2000 and 2019, Risperdal and similar antipsychotic meds caused as many as 1.2 million needless deaths among the elderly. And this is likely a significant underestimate.
Yeah.
What is just as troubling is the fact that it's still being used among the elderly in some places and likely killing an estimated 65,000 patients every year when they're doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's not supposed to be used for dementia. But it could also be, they might also be using it like in dementia patients who have like agitation, sundowners. So if they get sort of agitated and they want to be like, it's giving me trouble, I'm just going to sedate him. And I get it. Like, it's hard dealing with patients that do that, but there are other ways. And honestly, it's also the hospital's fault because they really don't protect the nurses or anything like that either. So it's like, they just, So they cause this too. But yeah, 65,000 patients every year. That's a lot. That's actually more than the amount of deaths due to prescription opioid overdoses in 2020, which was 16,000. Next, J&J went after disorders that involved severe agitation. As I mentioned, Risperdal can have that drowsiness effect. Antipsychotics were actually once called major tranquilizers. So they thought it would be a brilliant idea to market it for conduct disorder in children, as well as for ADHD in children. So it's like, oh, they're being so difficult. So I don't know how to handle it. Knock them out. Just knock them out. We don't want to deal with it. Knock them out. Not how you fix things, but okay. Now, they marketed it in devious ways as well. They threw ice cream parties at child psychiatrist offices.
Okay.
And they gave out Risperdal branded Lego toys, candy jars. They even made a disintegrating tablet version for children and did a whole back to school launch for it.
Yikes.
So the drug, like I said, it acts like a tranquilizer. You can't really misbehave or act out if you're super sleepy, right? For this purpose, they only needed to prove that Risperdal resulted in less incidents of, say, talking back or disobedience or stubbornness. Like, give this to them and they'll stop doing that, and voila, there's another treat to the symptom sort of situation, right? So there are pretty severe consequences to the use of such drugs in children. Again, reduced life expectancy for many reasons. Obesity, diabetes, permanent motor disorders that we've mentioned already. I mentioned some of this earlier too. Children can gain like 4 to 6 pounds every month on Risperdal, which obviously causes more problems. There's the gynecomastia issue. In some occurrences, it's led to obesity, heart attacks, strokes, and sudden death. So Risperdal has been prescribed as a tranquilizer, essentially, again, for autistic patients prone to agitation, as well as to bipolar patients. So J&J has paid some very immoral doctors who knew better about drugs like these to push the drug as well. And one of those was Dr. Joseph Biderman. He was a psychiatrist at Harvard University. So Biderman convinced others in the field of psychiatry that bipolar disorder could affect children as young as 1 to 2 years old, which it just isn't. That doesn't happen. There's no evidence whatsoever.
Well, they're still developing a personality. You wouldn't be able to. They have no control over their actual emotions yet. So
it's pretty awful. He's basically he said bipolar disorder was basically an epidemic among children, it wasn't true. Okay. So bipolar disorder is not typically diagnosed until adulthood, kind of like your schizophrenia disorders. But by claiming it also affected children, this opens up a whole new group of patients to sell this drug to.
Yeah.
You can start selling it to them young. You're getting a whole new population of patients to sell this drug to, not caring about what it does to them. Among other drugs, Risperdal just being one of them. He got J&J to invest in his research by promising them an increase in sales. He knew what he was doing. J&J actually gave his research team at Harvard $2 million. And they also hired Biderman to give talks to promote Risperdal use for children with bipolar disorder, which is not a thing.
Yeah.
He conducted a study on bipolar disorder in children, and they were not put together very well, these studies. Somehow, though, he persuaded the public as well as some psychiatrists that there was this, like I said, bipolar epidemic among children. As such, children were prescribed antipsychotics like Risperdal, which just sedated them, really. In reality, there has been no evidence of mania found in children before adolescence. There has also been no evidence showing that children that were diagnosed as bipolar by Biderman and his team had it in adulthood. They didn't, it just didn't carry over. It doesn't just end.
Yeah. It just disappear.
They likely didn't have it at all. Now, as David Schaefer, the former head of child psychiatry at Columbia Medical School and the author of a whole child development psychology textbook, put it, Biderman is a crook. Yeah. That's basically it. That's it. But J&J supported Biderman in this whole bipolar epidemic among children situation so that they could make more Risperdal sales. That's about how it was. When asked about what Johnson & Johnson had paid him later, Biderman seriously underreported the fees. He lied a lot about it. And somehow he still got to keep his job and his Harvard affiliation up until his death in 2023. Good riddance, I guess. So there have been a number of sales reps since all of this that have quit they've quit after learning what's really going on and not being able to handle the moral, I really don't like this. And they've basically reported Johnson & Johnson and other companies for illegal marketing issues and investigations. There's been a lot of investigations that have been started and ongoing, and lawsuits obviously that have been filed, though they are often hidden. You don't really hear them talked about as much. But a lot of these drugs, this drug in particular, is still available. It's still being used, but there is a lot of stuff going on, like I said, with investigation and lawsuits concerning its use in children and the elderly.
Yeah.
And I think just for resolution, conclusion. Anyway, in 2005, the FDA announced that Risperdal and its sister medicines would have to carry one of the starkest, most alarming warnings the agency has ever placed on widely prescribed drugs. Basically, they told them they had to include warning, increased mortality in elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis. And then it's see full prescribing information for the full boxed warnings. It also says elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis treated with antipsychotic drugs are at an increased risk of death. Risperdal is not approved for use in patients with dementia-related psychosis. And they were already told that it's not approved for that. They were told you cannot sell this for that. So now they're you have to put a warning on this because you're not even listening to us, which I think they should have done more than that, but I don't think they have the authority to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot going on in terms of, there was even a story where I think a sales rep left because of how bad things got once she learned what was really happening.
Yeah.
She went to some sort of conference where she had to speak on something else, but there were going to be officials from J&J there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was a court case going on, and they literally fitted her with a wire to go in there, like to hear what was going on, what J&J was saying and stuff like that. So it's pretty serious stuff.
Nice.
So be interested to see how a lot of that turns out too, because like this is just one drug and it's not just them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this happens a lot, and we only get to see like the tip of the iceberg, like when it comes to, because even the advocacy groups, you know, all of that, they're trying to take this from us, and it's like, I want to hear the whole story. You know, I mean, like,
there's simply more to this. Yeah.
You know, like, and if they are, you know, that's not cool. But at the same time, it's like, why are these companies going so hard?
Yeah.
You know, right now for this, it's a lot. So always question what you hear, I suppose. But that's Risperdal. I think next week we'll talk about some devices. I think they had there's devices, there's like birth control.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they dealt with too, with all that too. So we'll cover kind of the end of J&J next time, and move on from there, because I kind of want to get into some other like poison stuff. Anytime I take my medicines, I'm like, what are you doing to me? Right? Anyway, but I look forward to that and everything else to come. Yeah. Marvel or DC?
What team are you?
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.